I just lofted the stern half of the bottom onto this piece of PVC core. It gave me a bit of a chill to see a real piece of the boat. You can probably barely see it. Hey, welcome back. It is late night Saturday, October 23rd, 2021 in San Diego, California. And I am Perry with you here. Actually, I guess I can say now Captain Perry, because I, this week in the mail, got my captain's license from the U.S. Coast Guard. I got this so that I could apply for a certain job I wanted that's out on the water. And it represented a lot of big investment in time and money. I signed up for an online course and studied and took the tests. Got the medical, drug tests. You have to get a CPR, first aid class. There was a lot involved, and then there was like a 3-month wait for the Coast Guard to actually make this and send it. They're pretty backed up right now. So the last 2 weeks, I spent a good deal of time doing drawings, making plans, thinking. One of the things I did was drew all the frames. You can see an example here. I don't want to give away everything, but I just want to make sure as I build that I write down everything very carefully, because some people have expressed interest in building their own. And that would be very cool if there were, you know, more than one of these out there. Another thing I drew was a buoyancy compartment plan. So you can see here, the squares in orange are going to be from the hull bottom to the overhead, all a buoyancy compartment. There's different ways to do this, and nobody's really in agreement about it, it seems. You could do a pour-in foam that fills up, but that tends to be a bit heavy. You can make a compartment and fill it with some other kind of foam, like a styrofoam, but then if water gets in there, it could break the foam down. You can't clean it, so some people say you don't want it sealed off completely. You might want a hatch to inspect. I was thinking maybe make the compartment and just leave it open at the top, and then put in plastic jars like this. Some people talk about like ping pong balls you could use, or water bottles. So I was thinking like water bottles and plastic jars like this. Then they can't really fill up with water, even if the hull is broken on the outside of that compartment. And if I wanted, I could just reach in and take them out and clean in there if there's any kind of mildew growing or anything like that. So that's the solution I was thinking of. If anyone else has any better ideas, I'd be happy to hear them in the comments. So you can see there's 2 in the bow and 2 in the stern. And basically just if the boat filled with water, these should keep the boat floating, because they have all these pockets of air. Another thing I drew, similar to this one, is a floor grid layout. You can see on here there's a C5. That's kind of the main bulkhead of the sailboat. And the hatch, main hatch, will be just forward of that. And then under that are the heavy 2 batteries. In the past, I've used 2 6-volt batteries wired together to make 12 volts, and that works well for me. After that would be the spade anchor. The smallest space I could make it take up was 76 centimeters by 36 centimeters by 30 centimeters tall. Then forward of the batteries, you got a 6-gallon water jug. I picked this up at Walmart, and I may get another one. But all the other blue squares are just 1-gallon plastic containers. These have apple juice in them. They work pretty well. So I've got something like 27 gallons here in all that would go under the floor. And then in lime green, I've got some what'll be the floor grid, only about 19 centimeters high, the max. and then above all that, you have like a plywood floor. So under the floor, we'll have some storage, keep your water low, helps with your writing moment. Under that, in a green, you can see the two twin keels, and then in kind of a tan, there's 3 tan lines. Those are the oak supports that are going to hold the keel bolts. And where it says 50W seat, that's a 50 centimeter wide seat, so that I could lean up against the port side. The dark red would be compartments running along the hull. And then on the starboard side, at the bottom of the picture here, you can see a little silver square, and that's where I'm thinking I'd have a gimbaled Origo non-pressurized alcohol stove. That's what I've used before when I sail, and I really like those. Also in the very center there, you can see the, I think it's a 20-pound anchor and a bunch of 3/8 inch chain. That's a lot of weight, so it's right above the keel, and it'll fit under the floorboards as well. So enough yammering on, let me show you what I did this week. I don't know how well you can see, but I've lofted on to the PVC foam core the bottom panels of the boat. This is kind of the forward half, and then the aft half is back there. So next I'm going to cut them out. All right, here's the front of the bottom piece. As you can see, it'll take a good bit of curve already. And there's the back half, and I'm going to have to join them with a butt joint here. All right, I got the 2 parts of the bottom panel epoxied together with a butt joint, and what I did was put down a sheet of plastic on this plywood, and then a 6-ounce, 6-inch wide fiberglass piece. Wet that out, wet out the core, set it on top, then another 6-inch wide piece on top of that, another piece of plastic, and then this wood and the weights. Alright, while that is curing, I have cut the double up piece. This is where the bottom of the boat is going to be doubled up for the keel, for a little added strength. Alright, let's see how this worked. Alright, now I have placed the bottom on the jig here, and it's very easily taken the curve of the jig, all except to here where it's the most extreme, which I'll try my heat gun on it. So one of the advantages of using this thinner PVC core is it'll easily bend. I don't have to make cuts in the foam core to make it bend. But the disadvantage is, if it was plywood, I could stand on this, but this stuff is pretty brittle, so I can't stand on it. I can't put much weight on it. The next step is going to be to take this section where I'm going to double up the bottom for the keel and place it on here, epoxy it down, but I need to put more support under the bottom so I can put weight on it and it doesn't just, you know, sag down or crack. Well, I slid 2 pieces of scrap plywood under here, so actually it's pretty easy to support it, and then just threw some plastic over it just in case when I put thickened epoxy between this double up piece and the bottom, it doesn't, in case it bleeds through, I don't want it to end up sticking to the plywood below. And I sanded that butt joint real quick and wiped everything down with paint thinner. I don't know if it's really necessary for these pieces, but it is kind of dusty in here, so it doesn't hurt. Get the dust off. I know I said they're brittle, but I don't want people to latch onto that. Once I have a couple layers of fiberglass on here, it'll be very strong. I went ahead and labeled every 20 centimeters and marked where each frame is going to go. So you can see I labeled this C6. The forward end is at 406 millimeters, and then C5, C4, C3, C2. Wow, we're going to need a lot more than that. The doubled up core section is complete. I'm just leaving this weight on here to keep this bottom panel in position. I've positioned it as precisely as I can along the center line of the jig. I've hung this piece of oak on these ropes to try and bend this bottom piece to meet this curve. Just like 30 seconds with the heat gun I've used, and already I used the heat gun right here and it's curved, so I'm going to see if I can do the rest. Alright, that worked well. I just slowly kept adding a little more long weight like this and kept waving the heat gun on it, and we have pretty much fit to that curve. Alright, I've marked on here where the oak beams are going to go. 3 oak beams that are going to hold the keel bolts. And just with some simple math, I know that I have to cut this at this angle. And it's 8.3 centimeters from the end to here. And then just go up to the corner. And that's the angle I need. And then I just laid it on here, and I'm just going to mark it here and go another 8.3 centimeters out and up to the other side and cut that angle. Okay, we got the oak beams dry fit in place, and the next step's pretty easy. We'll just take these, hard to see on that one, let's see, take these on the circular saw and start with a shallow cut across here, and then just go deeper and deeper, matching this line, and then chisel it out. Here's after about 5 minutes of chiseling. Okay, I hit these with a sander, and they're done. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be filled with thickened epoxy between this and the foam anyway. The 3 oak keel supports are all glassed in solidly now, and frame C4 is going to run right here forward of number 1, and that'll be integrated glassed right in. And also in front of number 2 and number 3 on the forward end, we're going to have the floor grid running athwart ships, and here at its highest point, the floor, it'll be 19 centimeters up, and that'll allow for storage of anchor and some chain here, and also like a 1-gallon water bottles. And then also also here we're going to have running aft to forward some more floor supports. Tragedy struck, guys. Look at this piece that got knocked out. I was just trying to move this empty tripod and this part right here fell over. It fell over and that part punched right through. That's all right, I'm gonna patch it up. All right, let's see how this repair went. This is where my tripod fell over and cracked a hole right through this panel. And looks very good. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I literally had a nightmare about them coming down here and walking on top of this and then breaking it. But of course it was me who ended up breaking it. I have a recommendation for anybody who's going to work with this product and do this build. You build a jig like I did, but then take 1/4 inch plywood and cut out the bottom panel with the 1/4 inch plywood, and it's not going to actually go into the boat, but just cover it in plastic, screw it down, and then put the foam, the real bottom panel, on top of that. And that way it'll support it and keep it from easily cracking. Now I think I'm gonna try to bend this bow curve a little bit more with the heat gun. I piled up some more weights on there and using the heat gun. I'll leave the weights on there for a day or two. Should hold that shape. Hey, well, thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to the next one because I should be cutting out the transom and maybe C5, which is the main bulkhead, and the floor grid between that. So it should be a lot of fun. If you want to do me a favor, please share this in your favorite sailing groups, like a forum or Facebook. It'd be fun to grow the channel even more. I'll see you in the next one.
Mr. Bordeaux, let's make all preparations for getting underway.
That guy sure likes to carry things.
Hey, what's your name, buddy?
Holman.
How do we get back to your station, or I'll have you shot for a mutineer!
Well, shoot something!